Welcome into my studio. My name is Jerry. I'm a filmmaker and educator, and you're going to meet a lot of gatekeepers on your journey. And I hope I'm one that is the opposite of that. So, in this series, Open the Gates, I sit down with creatives in different disciplines and we talk about what it actually takes to get where they're at, with an emphasis on actually sharing our knowledge. And so, today, I sat down with Morgan Markowski out of Chicago to talk about the importance of adaptability, why it's okay to be a beginner, and why you should share that with other people. So, without any further delay, let's chat with Morgan.
Right now I'm really interested in the conversation around like evolution as a creative. I think there's an art to constant change and transformation because if we're not changing, there seems to be stagnance of growth. So what's been really fun to do is like document my own and share it with my community online, as well as document other people's stories and share them too. And yeah, right now I'm really like focusing on helping creatives pivot from the hustle, always trying to get new clients and build a solid brand machine to sell profitable and sustainable offers that they feel fulfilled in using their zone of genius and skill sets. Also, building a brand on social media by creating content, long form, short form, and developing those stories to share, to build their audience essentially.
So if I was to tell somebody, like I just talked to Morgan and she's basically trying to help you think about something 5 years in the future. Is that kind of like, because you were talking about like future proofing? It sounds like you're like, when you're talking to people today, it's like, is this going to be sustainable in a couple of years? Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
Yeah, it's really about learning to create systems in your business that can be repeatable, but also learning the skill to adapt and be flexible at the same time because tomorrow life can change, anything can change. So having the system is like a foundation and then being able to change something to either like bring in more revenue or bring you more time and capacity is something that I typically focus on from the beginning. So maybe it's not, I guess, like for like future proofing your business or your brand, I think of you as like the creator, the founder, and like you change and transform and grow over time, but your values typically stay the same. You are like, you will always be consistent in your business. Your offers might change, your marketing strategies might change, your business systems might change. So, starting from you as the creator and then kind of looking at everything else as like a tool or resource to move you forward is, I think, the answer to that question.
Okay, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say I just stumbled upon a interview I did with PBS right after I made my first short film, my very first
Mhm.
one. It was in like 10 hours. I was in college. I think I was a sophomore or junior maybe. And some of the things I was saying in there, I'm like, whoa, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that sustainable, like how to still make that work, And it was just like,
Mhm.
how can you make these smaller projects that you can actually, and when I started teaching, one of the things that I found was kind of unclear, and I think maybe you could speak to this too if you're talking to a lot of creatives, is kind of like, what is success? Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish with this? And right before we started recording, you were saying, about these algorithms and feeds, and it's like, am I really thinking this on my own, or am I being
Mm.
inflicted upon with other things that I'm seeing? And so could you talk a little bit about like how you think you got to this philosophy? Because it sounds like you have you have what you want to say. So is there something that happened
Mhm.
earlier in Morgan's life that was a little bit that kind of instilled this kind of, because it sounds like you have a value system that is like, take the things that you know about, give them back to other people and see where
Mm.
that leads. That because that's why I wanted to talk to you. When I saw you, I was like, oh my god, this is like a younger version of like what I didn't have these tools like you were saying at this time,
Mhm.
because I've been trying to do this for 15 or 20 years in this capacity, and yeah, you're doing it right now, which is very cool.
Yeah, like I think we all have like a journey that we're going through and there's ups and downs. So one of the things that has really helped is just practicing like reflection and self-awareness, which I guess like someone told me this might not be real, that a lot of people actually don't really reflect that much and like
It's a
ask
taught
themselves
skill.
questions.
Yeah, I learned
Yeah.
in teaching high schoolers, no, they will not reflect unless you force them to sit down and reflect. I think you have to be
Right.
taught what that actually means.
Yeah, and I think that's a skill that you learn when you um, start being in more control of how you make your money as an entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur, service provider. And so I think because of all of the different paths I took, which I was a graphic designer, I was a photographer, I did both at once. Um, I did websites, I did marketing consulting, I did a lot of different things. I was a virtual assistant. A lot of those roles and positions has taught me what I like to do, what I don't like to do, what is fulfilling to my soul, essentially, like my creative soul and like being, what's not. And essentially, looking back at the last 5 years and the reasons why I've pivoted so many times was because I felt a sense of burnout. And I thought that it was because of how much I was working, because I used to work so much, like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., or I was just like, the more I work, the more productive I will be, which is definitely not the case. Rest is usually more productive, and living
Take
your
a nap.
life.
Go do
Yeah.
something nice for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I was like looking back and I was like, wow, I was actually pretty burnt out doing it. It wasn't because I was necessarily working a lot, because I can work a lot and not feel burnt out if I'm truly fulfilled in what creative projects I'm doing or the clients that I'm working with. I was burnt out because I was trying to force doing a design or um, marketing assets for clients that I didn't love the work. I didn't enjoy the work. So that's what truly burnt me out. And so it's really like this process of experimentation and trial and error. And I personally did not have the experience of doing that in like a corporate field or anything. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they go through corporate and maybe job hop for a little while to see like what they like to do, or they get a lot of their experience in a traditional 9 to 5. But it's never felt right to me. I've always physically felt like this repelling feeling of going and working for somebody else, even though I'm good at working at a restaurant or a coffee shop, but it's given me the flexibility outside of that job to work on the creative endeavors that I had.
Yeah, you bring up a good point that when you're trying to balance those two things together, and I mean, everybody I've ever talked to is like, we didn't all just end up here and we're doing exactly what we love to do. So if you're
Right.
listening, it's, there were a lot of things you didn't see whenever, there was all the bad stuff, and because we don't really talk about it. But
Hmm.
you brought up that this started 5 years ago, which everybody listening knows almost exactly what happened 5 years ago with the pandemic.
Yeah.
It sounds like you took like that kind of cataclysmic shift or whatever we want to call it as like an opportunity.
Right.
So could you talk a little bit about, because I mean, a lot of people, I started teaching in the pandemic, so I did a drastic shift. I had to get off set, all the set shut down, and then that was like
Hmm.
5 years, and now I'm still teaching, which is fun. But could you talk about like what it was that provided you that opportunity to go like, I can try this now?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm just like, I was in a very privileged and grateful position to move home, because I was working at a coffee shop and doing freelance work in the city of Chicago. And I just remember the day that we were like pouring milk down the drains, and we didn't want to. We wanted to leave it out for people if they, of course, wanted to use those like ingredients and stuff we'd use at the coffee shop. But when I just remember like throwing a bunch of clothes into a laundry basket and moving home. And I never went back. I was paying rent for maybe 2 or 3 months, and I was living at home. And so there was a time where I was doing this more of like restful self care things. I was recently out of school, maybe like 3 or 4 years out of school at this time. So um, I've only known to like work and hustle. So I really took the time to rest and try to figure out what's next. And so a lot of like DIY projects, like I built my own desk. We went on some camping trips. And this was when TikTok, I feel like, was starting to get really popular. And
Yeah.
so after scrolling on that app, I kind of stumbled just along the like entrepreneurship side of things, and a lot of people were talking about virtual assistants and building brands and stuff like that, and I was like, I could do that. And literally, like when I feel the urge to do something, I just do it right away. It lights me up. And so we were on our way to a 10-day camping trip in Utah, and I just started my Instagram and started just saying, I'm a virtual assistant, I'm ready for services. So hopefully that answers your question. I just like I had that freedom, and I know a lot of people don't have it. I'm super grateful for it, but yeah, I was like, let's find out what happens. You know, I have nothing to lose at this point, and if anything, eventually I would probably go get a job at a restaurant or something, what I'm used to, just to start making money. But when I first started my virtual assistants, I got my first two clients within the first month, and it was just like really popular at the time. So maybe it was luck, maybe it was because of like the creativity I was putting into it, and like just like the let's see what finds out, I'm going to do this attitude. But yeah.
Well, it kind of sounds like you're not afraid to fail.
No, because I like failing is just a learning experience. I am, I mean, I am afraid of a lot of things, and like it's more of like perception of others, or like, am I saying something that's stupid, or are people going to see me as a credible expert? But after 5 years of doing it, like I just turned 30 this year in 2026.
Hey,
So I'm
congrats.
thanks.
It's the best
I just
decade.
feel that's what everyone's telling me, and I'm like, I
Yes.
actually feel it. Like
Yeah.
I feel it. So yeah, I mean, like failure. I think a lot of people or fear to. Everyone fears to fail, but if you just change it from a different perspective, a failure is just a sign or a message or a learning experience.
Yeah, you brought up something interesting because I've been doing this now. Like I graduated college. Well, I guess we're coming up like on 17 years ago or something, 18 years ago. But there was something at the beginning of it when I started making films, and I started it like pre TikTok, pre all of the social media. Like YouTube was around, but it was mostly like kids vlogging in their room, and now it's like
Mm-hmm.
shows, which is what I'm making now. But uh, there was something about the disconnect, like you were saying, of the am I saying something credible? Am I doing this? And even after, it's great that you figured it out in 5 years that you're like, I can do that. And so, because there's still sometimes after 15 or 20 years, I just go like, man, is this going to come off the way that I want? What if somebody doesn't like
Mm-hmm.
this? And you said you're starting a YouTube as well, so it's a very humbling experience when you get 14 views. And
Mm-hmm.
but those 14 you like I have a video now that had 14 views 7 months ago and now has 2,000 almost. And you're like, so it's really weird how it's like this kind of compounding interest. But could you talk a little bit about like how, because I like how you got to the point of like I am a credible source to talk about this now. Like I've had enough experience, because I think people that might be listening might have something they're very good at and will just
Mm-hmm.
never tell anybody about that because they're afraid of what other people think. And that saddens me, because I want to, like, if you have a really cool skill or something, I wish you would talk about it. But could you talk a little bit about how either you've done it or you've worked with people to help them kind of get over that fear of what others are going to think?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I was thinking of when you were talking, especially about like YouTube views and the growth that happened over the course of a few months and stuff, I think a lot of people are afraid to be beginners at something. And what I've been recently talking to people about is the fact that a lot of people don't embrace the middle period of like their journey. It's like you're a beginner, you're figuring it out. And then there's like the end. There's the end of a book, right? So there's going to be an end of our journey. And for us, it's
Spoiler
probably
alert, we're all gonna
death,
die.
honestly. Yeah. So thinking about that, it's like, when I'm on my deathbed, like, what are all the things that I'm going to regret saying or doing? Or what am I going to regret not doing? Or what am I going to regret not saying that could have attributed or added to like my journey or my success or how I'm being perceived as like a creative. And so yeah, I think like one of the things is just embracing that middle area of realizing that we're all still learning. Like it doesn't even matter how old you are, like we're figuring it out as we go, and each step is closer and closer to where you may want to be or are supposed to be. I think also the reflection part and being more self-aware is really helpful, just because like there's always going to be somebody who has something to say about what you said, whether it's positive or negative. Not everybody is meant to get along or agree with each other. And honestly, in a way, that's good, because if everyone agreed with each other on what they say or what they do, then we would all be the same and there would be no diversity or, challenges or inspiration. So I think if a creative or entrepreneur is thinking that they might not be credible enough, like look back at the last 3 to 5 years of your life and all of the things that you've achieved or have done or all the skills you've learned. That is all part of what you are credible to also talk about or lead others. And I guess like lastly, I would say is sometimes it's better to learn from somebody who's only a few steps ahead versus somebody who's like 30, 50, 60 steps ahead of you. Sometimes you relate better to those people. Sometimes they can just understand where you're coming from and find a solution for you for where you are, not where you want to be. Because, for instance, like let's say you just started your business and then you hire a mentor or a business strategist who's built like $1 million businesses. Their problems are not the same as your problems, and so there might be some contrast there. So yeah, I think it's just sometimes being unapologetic is going to be like your best marketing strategy, and like you're going to attract your people by just like sharing what you know now and expressing it.
That's a really good point, because some of the videos that have gotten the least amount, and it might be the same in your experience, are like the ones I'm leaving for people that are like where I'm at right now that might not find it for 2 or 3 years. And so I'm sure in the algorithm and how it all works, it goes like your channel's not as terrible because this one didn't get that much. But I usually like say it's like, this is for like if you're on this road, hopefully you find this video kind of thing, because
that's smart.
I've really not been able to find anything that's not somebody that already has like 1 million subscribers and like, if I had to start over, this is what I do. And in a way that's not helpful, because if you were to start over again, you couldn't do the same thing because that world doesn't exist anymore. So it's not really helpful. But if you have somebody at that 500 subscriber mark or 1,000 that's like just got there and is like, this is what it was actually like. It took me 2.5 years, like, because there's no transparency. There's a lot of gatekeepers. And so it sounds like you're trying to help them kind of navigate that while you're also creating in tandem with them. Because that's true, right? You're like, you're putting yourself out there too, of like this, so which is kind of similar to what I'm doing. I'm just like, I'm going to have to create in tandem with you to figure out what's actually working. Because if not, I'm guessing.
For sure. Yeah. I call those people where you find somebody maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of you expanders. I think they're like creative expanders, where if you find yourself comparing your first 3 days to another person's 3 years, then you need to refresh who you're following or who you're I mean, you can look up to people for inspiration and motivation and be like, I want to be there, but learning from them or like trying to do exactly what they're doing might not be actually beneficial for you, because you're not there yet. And so when you find expanders who are where you want to be, but just a couple steps ahead, that is probably going to move you forward way quicker than trying to fit the shoes of somebody who's like at 1 million subscribers, even though you just started your channel. Because where they started was where you started. If you just started your YouTube channel, the people with 1 million subscribers, they've been doing it probably longer than you have to, just because of how YouTube is changing and how social media is changing in general. But they had to experiment and try new things and different titles, different thumbnails to get to where they are. So you also have to do that too, to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm approaching YouTube a little like as a teacher, so I'm also writing a lot of like long form stuff about it, like what I'm learning, because I think what I'm more interested in is like I've sold movies traditionally. I've done them like on streamers. I've done them on physical media. I've done like, and none of them have made any money. It's like that's just the pattern. And then now it's like the YouTube is the same kind of pattern, but if you do that for a year or two free, you're actually probably going to make money at it. Still arguably too long to take advantage of somebody, but I digress. But how do we be a little bit more, I guess, how do I want to word this? How do we be a little more truthful about like what it's really going to be? Like, I don't want to detour you from it, but I also want you to know that, because if you're meeting, it sounds like myself or you, and along the way, it's going to be like, this is going to be the hardest thing you're ever going to do. So a lot of people are going to be like, I'm out. Like they want to get rich quick kind of thing. So how do you think we try to empower creatives that like are underestimating what it is, but don't like also get them like scared of it? Like the journey is what's going to be very, very fruitful. And like you were talking about, there's going to be other things that are going to come up throughout that process that you can't even imagine. So I was like wondering how we can get more people to at least try.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think like my initial thought is to really lean into the media that you feel excited about, because not everyone wants to create the same way that they see other people creating, whether it's like podcasts or YouTube or short form content. You were talking about how you also write. A writing practice is really great for starting. Whether it's more of like a diary entry, morning pages where you're just like getting your thoughts out, or practicing more like gratitude journaling or something like that. But even just having a writing practice where you talk about a topic that has been circling in your mind to start getting your ideas out, it really helps you build momentum. There's somebody who I'm connected to, I can't think of her name, but she talks about how like an idea is a thing. Like your idea is already a tangible thing. You just have to build it or create it in some way. And like
cool.
how you can do that is by just taking one small step, even if it's planning when you're going to do something or writing a sticky note of your idea. Like just the little steps goes a long way. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I mean, I think in working with so many students now that a lot of them you were talking about the reflection earlier, they have a great idea, or maybe they don't have a great idea. Let's say they don't have a great idea, but they stop before, like there was something in there. And I think that's when it's good to have somebody around you, like a teacher or a mentor or something, go like, that idea is probably not for you, but say it out loud again. And it's like that word, right. Let's go into that word now. Like that's what you really want to talk about, because I saw your eyes light up when you said that word. So let's now reframe it and see what's actually in there. And maybe it's not a film, maybe it's photos, maybe you just need to write about it. And now that I'm doing all of this simultaneously as like a full-time job, it's hard to decide like, what am I going to write? What am I going to film? What am I going to photograph? And like, what's the right medium for it? So I'm glad you brought that up, because you might be trying to create in the wrong box. This might be something for you to create by yourself, and don't tell anybody about it. Just go, like you were saying, you built a desk. something you don't I don't like
Yeah.
I just rearranged my office. I don't need to show you everything of that. Like you'll see it in the
Hmm.
videos when I start showing you wide shots again. You'll be like, and then if somebody really wants to see it, maybe I'll do it, probably not. But it's like because I
Yeah.
need to do that for myself so I can be creative in the other ways that are outward facing. And so
Hmm.
some of it sounds like you just need to do for yourself and like not worry about what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, before you share anything, you can always just ask yourself, why would somebody want to see this, or why would somebody need to see this? Like, what is the purpose of sharing what you create? Do you want to inspire them? Do you want to teach them? Do you want to entertain them? There's so many reasons why creatives create, but sometimes we also have to have a practice for ourselves to create for others. So I think that's like a really good point is, yeah, just like what box are you creating in? Are you boxing yourself in too much?
Do you
Are
think that's
you,
because of the niche situation? Like, because I know when I started like looking at it, and everybody's like niche down, niche
Mhm.
down, niche down, and I've had to resist it because like that video that had 48 views now has 2,000. It's like, oh, I could just remake that and get better at it.
Yeah,
And it's like, but I don't want to be the guy that just remakes the same video 100 times, which is most of YouTube right now. Like, I'm trying to create
yeah,
something. It's like you're gonna build with me. I'm not going back to that. That was version of me 6 months ago. So let's move forward.
right.
So do you think
Yeah.
there's the talk and if you're down to talk about what we started, like the algorithms and like, are we really thinking what we want to think or what somebody else wants us to think? And I
Yeah,
think that's
for
the
sure.
hardest part right now is like, there's just so many voices out there.
Yeah, I would say too, like on the niching topic, if you're brand new, I don't think you should niche because
No,
it's your time to shine with experimentation and
try
trial and
everything.
error. And yeah, because your niche might be something that you discover and you had no idea you were either good at, interested in, or in like there's a demand for. So I think experimentation and exploration is such a big part of that. And yeah, I think there is a point where maybe you start to niche because you start to get really obsessed with your work if you're on the path for you. Sometimes we stray away and try things that aren't meant for us and we're like let's pump the brakes, let's pivot. But yeah, I think it really is up to a lot of, it's up to you personally if you want to niche or not. But if you're in a beginning stage of it, I say like mess around, have fun, like be messy and um, just just try new things.
Because spoiler alert, nobody's watching it early on. So like do what you want to do with
Exactly. It's
it.
that journey. It's that journey that we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like you start
I
as a
mean,
beginner and you have your destination, like that middle part, like because the thing is once you get to a certain phase of your journey, let's say YouTube, your videos are quote so good and you have a bunch of subscribers, like you can't do any less than what you've built it to be, or people aren't going to be interested anymore, or they're going to think, wow, this isn't as good as the other 10 videos they put out this year, like what happened, unless they go into the tab that says oldest video and then they see you were filming on maybe like your first camera, maybe it wasn't as like high quality or your sound's not very good. But it's like if you go back to those YouTubers with a bunch of subscribers, you'll see how their videos have evolved over the last 3-4 years, and there's massive difference from the very first to the very most recent.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to because I'm trying to like structure it almost like a free film school. So I'm going to put it by semesters. So you'll see like that I
Nice.
got better at filming them as we went along too.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think there's something that is happening, and I think it's shifting, which is great. That where we are kind of focusing in on that middle area that's becoming the truth tellers of the internet, hopefully, and as opposed to because I think what you get at that top kind of level, everything becomes about just the financial incentive. And
Hmm.
you forget, I forget that the first year I lived in LA, I made like $12,000 and barely could afford the rent and stuff. And it's like, so you've done it at that point. You don't want to go back, but you also forget that you probably could do something that you really, really love, make a little bit less money at it. And so those of the people I think that are listening right now, they're like, I want to start doing this. But if they're only looking at those people with 1 million subscribers, it's like, at this point, they're kind of corporately funded. They're sponsor funded.
Right.
And so they
Yeah.
can't do anything else. So what's your version of this that you could add to the conversation? And I think that's something, I don't know if you've had any of those experiences, like talking with people being like, because it sounds like you're telling them that like those people are way too far ahead of you right now. So you're like judging yourself. It's like not even comparative. Like that's 3 or 4 or 5 years away. But how do you think we can get a little bit more transparent with communicating on the internet with those algorithms in place, with all the things we know that are fighting against us? How do you think we can continue to share these things with other creatives? Because it's not incentivized for these companies to push our content the way we're talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, like financially, it's in my perspective, I always like to have like some sort of financial security. So something that's been really helpful is like working with a client one-to-one on a consistent basis. So I don't have that financial pressure of like developing like amazing content. And so my client, I do marketing strategy and content creation for at their office. And that's really helped relieve the pressure of like I put my all into my content, but I know that it's going to get better over time. And I think because I relieved the financial pressures of things in my business and like what I'm focusing on, that's really helped me build and create content like my podcast, Dear Creator, on YouTube. And also just acknowledging the fact that my podcast didn't just start this year. It started as a private podcast because I was like, I don't know if this is something I want to do. I'm like, oh, this could be like a cool like email opt-in for people who are like really interested in working with me or like hearing my perspectives or stories and things like that. And then I was like, why is it private? Like I should just share this. And I think there's like, it's like that momentum that you get from actually creating something and like building up the confidence a little bit more because you've like put a few out. And then I made it public, and then it kind of like wasn't very structured, I say. Like it's kind of random conversations or topics that I was talking about. So I took a break to do a little bit of a reflection on like what I want my podcast to be about. And I felt like that was the perfect time to start developing some sort of strategy to bring video into it and like put it on a few different platforms like Spotify and Apple, and then YouTube and Substack. So I think just like looking at the progression of like how it's built and developed over trying to perfect it and like really allow that like perfectionism to come in has really helped with not like trying not to compare myself to the big shots who are like making money and have like a whole team and, doing in-person, those people, they like film like 5 to 10 episodes in just one day. Like, and there's just like, what? I could not do that specifically.
Yeah, I don't think, and it's probably because we don't talk about it enough, but like, I've been in LA for 15 years now. The first 10 years of it was on set, like studio stuff, big budget things that I kind of worked up to. And I can look back, and it's probably why my beard is all gray now, that and hanging out with high schoolers the last 5 years. But my 20s basically evaporated because I was not around. Like I would go like back to back to back to back features, like as a dolly grip and or a gaffer, and so I think when people put it and they go like I want to be there, and it's like I don't think we talk enough about like what you're going to sacrifice to get there. And so, and it's not, the path is not for everybody. I got to finally a part where I was like, I'm just not willing to go like, I don't want to give up the rest of my life to go to the next step. And I was like, okay, so I, like I pivoted and I went to teaching, and now I'm talking to people like you, which is great. And so how, like this, I think this entertainment industry, this creative field, all of these kind of things kind of preys on people that are unaware of the actual things that are ahead. And so what's
Mm.
something that you've learned kind of like through your journey that you wish somebody would have taught you kind of earlier on, or at least brought up in some kind of fashion?
Yeah, I think we all have like a personal journey, like with entrepreneurship, with building a business and a brand and selling services and things like that. I thought that I had to build like a scaled up brand studio or agency to be successful.
Yeah.
And there was something in the back of my head that was like, there are literally like solo entrepreneurs out there making a bunch of money, living their life, and loving the work that they do. Why would I have to build a creative brand studio with like a team of people and trade my time for money and hustle a bunch to be successful? It just didn't make sense. Sometimes that is what people want, and I think that's great if they want it. But for me, I it's not like I live like a soft life. Like I'm a very like I love to do things. I've always got something going on, but I like to be in control of my time. And so if there's other aspects that are like you can't do this, or oh, you have to work this long, or you have to work with this client to meet some sort of revenue goal, I just like didn't want that. So I think like the a key takeaway for that is you you're doing yourself a disservice by trying to copy what another business model or entrepreneur um yeah, like another entrepreneur's business model. You're doing a disservice to yourself because your life does not look the same as theirs. Your energy is not the same as theirs. Maybe your vision and goals don't align as well. So, really, like giving yourself the time and permission to experiment, see what works, what doesn't, to develop your own custom, personalized business model that works for you is going to do you far is going to just be way better than trying to do what other people are doing.
I think because we have so much access to everybody else's life, for better or worse, because of the internet,
Hmm.
that yeah, there is a lot of comparative stories, um, and so you start like going like you were said right before we started rolling, that you're like, am I actually thinking this, or
Right.
like is this really what I want? So, do you have a personal definition of success, like what that means to you?
Yeah. I think I feel like I always would change my answer to this question if
That's
somebody
okay.
asked
You'll be a
me.
different person in a couple years. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like my version of success is happiness and health, of course, but it's essentially like financial security and having control of my time and being flexible, being lit up by the work that I do. Like that's success to me. It's not really like I feel like I feel like the word success can mean so many different things to people. But yeah, I feel like it's really about like living the life that I want to live and not being told how to do it, essentially. And I think everything else, like happiness, health, relationships, freedom, time, all of that, like kind of comes into it. And yeah, I think a lot of people who think, oh, like success means millions and millions of dollars, like I don't really care about that. I mean, to an extent, I do because we all have to live our lives and pay bills and things like that. Adulthood, of course, but I'm just like, it's not really about the money for me. It's like it's more of like a feeling, a fulfillment and stuff. Um, and I think I might not have answered the question about like how we like become more transparent online and like with the algorithms and stuff. But if it's helpful um, to anybody listening, when I was like going through this like phase of trying to figure out like what direction I want to go in and what I want to focus on in the new year, I felt like I was being fed on other social media platforms like Threads what others wanted. And so when I was like in this reflection period, I couldn't really figure out like what I wanted versus what others wanted, or like what they were saying. And I was really questioning myself. And that might have to do with like more of like the skills that I've developed over the years of being a little bit more self-aware and stuff. But I think if you're trying to figure out like your perspective on your industry, or what you want to talk about in your niche or in your field, giving yourself time to step away from certain social media apps and developing some sort of writing practice or creation practice without that external dialogue is going to help you find what truly matters to you and like what you want to be known for, and what is going to be more of an authentic message to put out into the world.
I deleted everything off my phone for the 2 weeks over Christmas.
Nice.
It was, I created like 2 self-led courses for homeschool networks like that are about to go live. I filmed so much stuff. I wrote, I spent time with my wife. I watched movies. I had so much time and I felt so much better. And while I know everybody has to be on the internet, that's kind of the world that we live in now. It is okay, like you were saying, to step away for a little bit. And I think you bring up a very valid point, and I think it's a great place to stop of like, if you want to do something and you have an idea in your head, go write it down, get away from everybody else's ideas that are infiltrating you, because you said something about the woman you were talking about. I heard another saying along the lines of like, our brains, it's like its whole goal is to come up with ideas, not remember them. So it's like, if it's throwing them all out there. And have you seen or read Catching the Big Fish, like by David Lynch?
No.
He talks about that as like, your brain's always just throwing stuff out, and people most of the time just go like, that's not important. But what if you just wrote down that weird thought and then came back to it 6 weeks later, and now you're like what sounded like a ridiculous thing might actually be something in there. And like you said, you don't know what you're going to be whenever you're I had students going like, I was like, I don't even know what I want to do when I grow up. Like, keep changing your mind, keep having fun. I don't know where this is going. I just like enjoy the process. Yeah.
For sure. And I think like if you have an idea that's constantly coming up, maybe it's something to look at and
for sure
lean into, versus like maybe you have just like an idea and you're like, that would be cool. Like you could write it down, but a lot of our ideas, I feel like sometimes they sit on a piece of paper or in a content calendar for a long time and we don't act on it. But it's like, what ideas keep coming up that like you can't go to bed, like you just keep thinking about, like that could be something really amazing that you can create and share with everyone.
I literally have a cardboard box like velcroed to my wall right out of frame of this camera that says ideas on it, and it's just for note cards when they're ridiculous ideas, and I just throw them in that box. I don't know what's in there at this point, but it's like I'm like, cool. I don't have an idea yet, but this is kind of cool and I don't want to lose it, and so it'll just be like, it's like 3 random sentences and I drop it in the box. And then sometimes
that's cool.
Yeah, and so here, I'll show you real quick.
I love that idea.
So it's literally just a cardboard box that says ideas with a little hole in the top. And then when you open it up, there's just like a stack of note cards in here.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, it's when I run out of ideas, and it's like, all right, well, I wrote these down 6 months ago. Maybe there's something good in there. And I kind of like funnel through them. And every once in a while I'm like, oh, that actually now I know what that is. I can write the article, or I can write a scene or something off of it. And, but
I love that.
It's like, you don't want to throw your ideas away. Like, I don't
totally.
I don't know when that's coming back. Like, I don't know when it's going to pop back in my head. But like you're saying, if you start putting them on a calendar and it's like, I'm going to film it on this day, it's like, you're getting too far ahead. Like, these are just like, these are like kind of like phantom things that are just flying into my head. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. And I'll write it down, throw it in the box. Like,
I like how it's kind of a mystery, because I used to get ahead of myself sometimes and like let a lot of ideas go away or not be used because I would pre-plan it. And I found that if I create first and then plan when I want to share it, that is a way better process because I've already created it without the pressure to post it.
I like that. I'm gonna steal that one.
Yeah. I'm going to steal your box idea.
Yeah, go for it. It's like literally, I mean, it's haphazardly together with a command strip, but I was just like, I need to have these here so I can remember where I put them. But
that's
good. That's good.
Hmm.
Yeah, because for a while I was creating and like I would do everything in one day. I'd film it, edit it, upload it in one day when I first started, and it was a miserable experience. And so
And
now,
what do you plan? Like, do you plan in the same day too?
well, no, the plans would be all over the place. So I have notebooks for like each kind of bigger idea. So I'd be writing those down
Okay.
as I'd go. And when I was ready to do it, it was, well, for one, I was still teaching full time, and it's like I had to
Yeah.
like crush it in there. And now I'll film and then maybe I won't edit it for 6 weeks. I'll come back. It's like literally how I do my movies too, where I film my movies and then I come back to them a couple months later and then I edit them. It's like I need to be in two
Oh,
different
nice.
places.
Yeah.
And I needed to take my own advice on the YouTube part of it too, because I was like, these are not getting any better, and I'm rushing everything just to get it
Hmm.
done. And now I slowed it down a little bit, and also everything got better because I was like actually
Yeah.
editing for intent and trying to time when it might be more important and put them in different orders. And but those are
Hmm.
great things. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, check out Dear Creator, I'll have all these links at the bottom. But if you just wanted to kind of where people can find you out there on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, I have a website, www.morganmarkowski.com. I also am on YouTube at Morgan Markowski. And my podcast is also on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I have a newsletter called Curate the Chaos where I share more practical business and pivoting strategies. And I have Substack. I'm basically kind of all over. So I'm sure I'll add some more in there as well. But yeah, definitely send me a message if you listen to this. If you have any questions regarding like our conversation, I'd love to have a conversation with you. So yeah, I'm excited for how all of this will turn out.
Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with me today. I hope this was informative. I hope you learned something. And if you're a new filmmaker looking to make your first film, then check out one of these tutorials. And if you're a filmmaker that would like to get on the show, then make sure you reach out and hit me up on brotzacreative.us. So I hope you have a beautiful day. Share what you know with everybody. I'll see you next time.